that cause, aren't you aiding and abetting an adversary of the United States?
First of all, I challenge that characterization. It is unproven. It is a claim. I tried to do the same thing that Daniel Ellsberg did, for which the New York Times and the Washington Post called him a hero, although I never received any stolen or hacked material and handed it to anyone. All I did was take publicly available information and try to hype it to get it as much attention as possible, because I had a tip that the information was politically significant and that it would come in October.
On Friday, you were arrested, but Mueller's team also and the FBI executed search warrants of your home in Florida and up in New York City as well. Do you have any idea what they were after, and are you worried about what they will find?
No, not in the slightest. I am concerned that they took a number of privileged communications between me and my attorneys. But in all honesty, I have been under surveillance for 2 years. My email, my text messages, my phone calls have been fully reviewed. We know that because they've asked people who are associated with me about specific items before the grand jury. The New York Times reported on January 20th, 2017, that I was among 3 Trump aides under surveillance in 2016. We hope to learn more about that in discovery. The Times will not retract that story. They still stand by it. I believe it to be true. And so there is nothing to find. I do have 1 million emails. They have been reported, many of them taken out of context in this indictment. But there is nothing to find. Again, I think it is designed to intimidate me, or perhaps seek personal information that it could be used to embarrass me, but has nothing to do with WikiLeaks, Russia, the 2016 campaign, or anything else.
And just to be clear, have you destroyed or discarded any communications devices, wiped any hard drives clean since the campaign?
Categorically not. My lawyers have been insistent on this. We very early had a request from both the Senate and the House. We have destroyed nothing whatsoever.
You say you won't bear false witness against President Trump. Are you prepared to tell the truth about your dealings with him to the special counsel, your truth about your dealings with the campaign? Any chance you'll cooperate with special counsel Robert Mueller if he asks?
That's a question I'd have to determine after my attorneys have some discussion. If there's wrongdoing by other people in the campaign that I know about, which I know of none, but if there is, I would certainly testify honestly. I'd also testify honestly about any other matter, including any communications with the president. It's true that we spoke on the phone, but those communications are political in nature, they're benign, and there is certainly no conspiracy with Russia. The president's right. There is no Russian collusion.
And he's never suggested to you in any way, shape, or form that he might offer you a pardon?
Absolutely, positively not. I have never discussed a pardon. The only person that I had advocated a pardon for, as we've discussed previously, is a posthumous pardon for Marcus Garvey. And I have written the president as to why I think that should be done.
Prosecutors have looked at this case, say you might need a pardon because they say it's a slam dunk case, including Chris Christie, who's coming up on the program later. You denied having any documents or text messages discussing WikiLeaks or Assange, but the prosecutors in the indictment lay out several emails, dozens of text messages.
They're right. I did forget on some occasions that I had text messages and emails that are entirely exculpatory and prove that everything I said before the House
Let me stop you right there. You say you forgot. On the day you testified, you didn't have any exchanges with Mr. Credico. You had 30 exchanges, 30 text exchanges with Randy Credico on the day you said you didn't remember it.
Mr. Credico, a man who threatened to put a bullet in the head of one of Mueller's witnesses before the grand jury, but is not charged with witness tampering or intimidation, a man who lied to the grand jury about being my source regarding the significance of the WikiLeaks disclosures, a man who threatened me in writing to have a woman falsely accuse me of sexual assault.
But the text messages have nothing to do with anything else having to do with him. The text messages are the text messages. They're documents.
I will prove in court that any failure of memory on my part was without intent and would be immaterial. I am human, and I did make some errors, but they're errors that would be inconsequential within the scope of this investigation.
You're also accused of tampering with Mr. Credico. I want to show some of the exchanges you had with him on multiple occasions. This is from the indictment. On multiple occasions, including on or about December 1st, 2017, Stone told Person 2 Credico that Person 2 should do a Frank Pentangeli for HPSCI in order to avoid contradicting Stone's testimony. Of course, Frank Pentangeli, a character in the film The Godfather Part 2, which both Stone and Credico had discussed, who testifies before a congressional committee, and in that testimony claims to not to know critical information that he does in fact know. So you were telling him not to tell the truth.
No, not at all. If you saw the actual exchange, first of all, Mr. Credico is an impressionist. He does Humphrey Bogart. He does Jack Nicholson. He does Richard Nixon. He does Bill Clinton. The exchange we talked about is Roger Stone this, Roger Stone that. Roger Stone was in the olive oil business with my father, but that was a long time ago. It has to be seen in context. It is a humorous exchange. So they taking things out of context and present them in a light that it mischaracterized their significance. I never told Mr. Credico to lie. I did at one point when he said, my liberal friends will be very upset, my progressive friends will be upset if they believe I was helping you because they would think I was helping Trump. It was only in that context that the Fifth Amendment protections were discussed.
Final question. You're in good shape, but you're not a young man, 66 years old. Are you prepared to spend the last best years of your life in jail?
In view of the fact that I expect to be acquitted and vindicated, and that my attorneys, including Bruce Rogow, one of the very best attorneys in the country, Grant Smith, Rob Bushell, and Tara Campion, believe that this indictment is thin as piss on a rock. So I'm prepared to fight for my life. I have to go to the public at stonedefensefund.com to ask for their support.
Roger Stone, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
We are now joined by the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff. Congressman, thank you for joining us this morning. You just heard